Dirk Verbeuren, the drummer of Megadeth, came into Drumeo Studios and did a blind take on a very popular song, Mr. Brightside. Drumeo regularly does this for different kinds of very accomplished drummers in genres that they're very unfamiliar with, and it's kind of cool to watch the reinterpretations, especially right on the spot, with no biases tainting them.
I'm Dirk Verbeuren from Megadeth. Mostly throughout my life, I have been playing all sorts of metal music. I listen to all kinds of different things. I grew up listening to a lot of pop and rap / hip hop and...
Which is not what I would have expected. As we get into it, we can actually hear some of that come out a little bit, in my opinion. I actually find it very interesting how a widened variety of music that a musician listens to actually helps create a more interesting and cohesive and accessible personality when they actually express themselves.
Nowadays, I also listen to a lot of jazz and fusion, rock and roll, punk, you name it, all kinds of different things. Drumming-wise, what I mostly do is at least somewhat rock-related, so as much as I have studied jazz and enjoyed, I don't feel like I'm quite ready to be in a jazz trio, so if you guys are...
Won't be seeing him join the Aristocrats anytime soon.
You're gonna play me a jazz song, I'm gonna run away.
Yeah, we'll load up the track, and yeah, you ready?
Seems like a cool guy. I'm down with this man. All right, so he listens through it. For the sake of trying to minimize the risk I'm putting myself for a copyright claim, I'm going to mute this section and we'll just watch along. We know what Mr. Brightside sounds like, right? There are guys in the studio freaking out because they're like, why wouldn't he know this track already just from the beginning? Even the camera guy. All right, so now they're going through and they're explaining the studio drummer process, which is actually really impressive, I gotta say, especially since you have to come in and knock it out of the park with something that's pleasing and cool in a very short amount of time. Here, Dirk is taking notes while practicing active listening. The purpose is to study the song for its form, key moments, and energy. Yes, I would even go a step further, which he actually talks about later. It's not that he's studying it so much as he is just one time listening through and becoming familiar with it. And he's writing down the notes that he needs on a chart in order to transcribe it, so in the event he forgets something, he has a reference to look at. Most music that you're doing studio work for is pretty predictable to a degree. You understand the form enough and you understand music enough to where the pulses of tension and release and dynamic up and dynamic down are pretty much to be expected. And that makes it so once you do this enough, you can just run through these. As long as you're taking the right notes at the right time while you're listening through, you should be able to knock this out in a listen, maybe 2 listens. That's a talent that studio musicians have that most other musicians in general don't. All right, we're back.
I just have to ask, do you know that song?
No, I don't. But I know.
That's crazy. I mean, I am a pretty big metalhead, and I really don't give a crap about the Killers or anything in that genre. I find it mostly just kind of annoying, even though this song is fun. I'll give it this song is fun. But even I am intimately familiar with Mr. Brightside. And this man's a professional musician. It's just mind-blowing to me. Absolutely no shame for him not knowing it. I'm just shocked. This man is blessed enough to have completely missed Mr. Brightside. Or chances are, and this is a little bit of my intuition, I think Mr. Brightside is a little bit of an overrated song because I don't think it's as hooky as it pretends to be. I get that, young women have fun to it and they bounce up and down. White women just bounce straight up and down. This fucking white girl wasted it the entire time. I feel like that's pretty much the vibe that sold it. I don't feel like it was even 50% men selling this song as a hit. It was just girls bouncing up and down. Because I feel like to the average male listener, if this comes on in a public environment, this is going in one ear and out the fucking other if you're not already familiar with the song. Could be wrong. Let me know why I'm wrong in the comments down below. It's typically my favorite thing for you to do.
The song structure. So,
I just have to say, this is
fucking
blowing
incredible.
my mind right now.
What was
I'm
that?
so glad you don't know this song.
No, yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's I wouldn't even know what band it is, to be honest. So
Yeah, which is even more wild. For the record, it's actually awesome for this video that he has no idea what this song is, because now it's like he has no preconceived notion of how this is supposed to go. It's going to be completely blind going into it. What do I make? You know? As if he was doing a drumming session, like no prep, haven't even heard the song. I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna crap out a drum part, and you're gonna love it. That's what we're doing today.
I have no idea. I might have heard it before. I don't know, because it sounds like something I might have heard before, but I definitely don't listen.
That's the thing. It sounds like something you might have heard before. It's kind of familiar, but it never gives you the payoff, the memorable moment. It never gives you that. That's why I think it's just slightly freaking overrated. It's got the opening, it's got the bouncy part, it's got the she takes off her dress now. Like, okay, you get it. We get it. All you ladies love yelling the she takes off her dress now. Congratulations. But it doesn't actually have like that, whoa, we're halfway there. Like none of that shit. The whoa, you know, it doesn't have the big moments. It doesn't have hooks on hooks on hooks. It just has these mildly frail, I'm very afraid to be in public, British frail boy moments. The spiciest, coolest part of that is the drum part, frankly. Drum part is killer, no pun intended, in that song. Really good. But we're not reviewing the song right now. We gotta listen to this guy do his own thing.
To this band or know this band very well, so.
Well, we won't tell you what it is until the end, so.
Don't, you know, this might be fun for people to know. So I do this when I do session work in the studio, which I've done tons of. I've developed a method to just, you know, when you listen to a song the first time, just count.
Okay, so let's see here. We got intro, vocals, that's the vocals before they actually launch into the verse, and then bass. The bass comes in, which I mean, he's not listing off the song structure as you would normally have it. He's listing off the important stuff that he needs to be aware of as a drummer as to what part is happening. He writes after the bass part, he writes epic. Love that. But yeah, he's writing down the notes that make the most sense to him as to how he needs to participate in the song. And that's part of being able to do this one shot so quickly, is making sure you know yourself well enough that you can take the notes you need to know it. They don't need to be notes that anyone else understands. You need to understand them and be able to execute the parts when you get there.
So me having at least the structure, you know, I'm not saying I'm gonna maybe read this perfectly, but at least I'll have some idea of where I am, and have a few of the accents on there, you know, a few little things I noticed on the bass and like the ending of the song and stuff. And so yeah, let's try this. I'm excited to try it. Let me put my gloves on for this.
Which is already a thing in and of itself, the gloves. I've asked multiple drummer friends of mine how they feel about the gloves. Some guys are all about it, and especially if you're going high impact and stuff, it's really good to help with not having your hands feel shocked, literally. There's a lot of impact and recoil that happens when you are slamming the crap out of the drums. But our drummer, Nate, actually refuses to use gloves because he likes having the raw touch there. And, well, I'm not gonna say the things that Nate says, but okay, now I feel kind of weird about this because I've been getting a ton of copyright claims lately. I love making those remixing videos for you guys, but it has put a massive hurting on my revenue. Like, I do this as a full-time job. The economy is already crap. If you guys want to help out, please support me on Subscribestar or become a member on YouTube, or hell, even just send me a tip via becomethenight@gmail.com through PayPal. It really does mean the world to me and helps me keep doing what I do for you guys. But anyway, yeah, I think I might have to tell you guys to go listen to this part for yourself. I'm gonna keep this muted. Future mic here, I mute and unmute certain bits, so you don't have to listen to the whole thing yourself. Sorry guys, I hope I don't have to do this in the future, but also at the same time, I'm really sick of not making any money on a video. So he basically starts off just mild hi-hat, which I kind of find pretty cool. So the thing here that kind of shocked me, and it's mostly because I'm just so used to hearing the song, and this is such an important part of the song, is this rapid 16th note hi-hat. That thing is so infectious and cool and instantly takes the energy way up, super, super high. That 16th note hi-hat, I think, is at least 50% of why people love this song. It makes it fun, it feels youthful, it feels overexcited, and it's great. It's really good. So when Dirk doesn't play that, it feels like such a jarring, like, oh gosh. Man, it was really hard for me to actually listen to his part and accept it as it was on its own merits, because I'm just so used to hearing that hi-hat come in. I talked about this with our video where Nate, our drummer, reinterprets some Metallica songs, and that was even a challenge for me, but at least that made a little more sense in my mind. This one is just like, man, it was very difficult. It was very, very hard. That, and this is normally a double time feel during this section, and he's kind of half timing it, which is a little bit more in that R&B feel. And it's not like Dirk isn't doing cool stuff with the hi-hat. He's doing his little, you know, his little rap trap guy, little hi-hats, which is cool. And especially rising through the pre-chorus here, the fact that he's not doing the big cymbal with the double time kick and snare is like, oh man, it feels like it loses so much to me. But like trying to imagine it how Dirk was feeling it, I think he wants it to feel less upbeat and bright and punky, and he kind of wants it to be bigger with more gravity, and I think he's getting that specifically from the guitars. I think if the vocal parts changed to rhythmically feel more in place with what Dirk is doing, his drum parts could work really well. I would say the rhythm of the vocal parts, how they're sticking around maybe like 3 notes at most, is partly why that super fast, more punk driven part I think works as well as it does. But like just thinking about the instrumentation by itself, I think there's absolutely a place for what Dirk's part is doing. Also, can I comment on how fantastic these drums sound? Like I'm sitting here listening to it and the drum shells sound fantastic, which says a lot more to me about how Dirk plays than anything else. They got a good setup here. You know, Drumeo Studios has a great drum setup. And I mean, his drums sound immaculately tuned, but man, he is just hitting each one of those drums really satisfyingly. Like listening through his performance, I think if I had to nitpick out like anything just slightly, there was like a handful of hits that could have been a little more satisfying, but you just friggin' replace that super quick in editing. That's not a big deal. You know, in live, no one's gonna catch that or care. I'll keep this part unmuted for a second. Like just listening to how great his pocket is, it's kind of nice, especially like he's in an uncomfortable environment. He is playing on his kit, but he's never heard the song before. He's given it one listen and he's just going for it. That's great. Now in the chorus, he gets closer to what the original was. The kick and snare pattern is a little bit more active, and frankly, I would say it feels more African American in nature. You know, a little bit more of that character going on than the straight ahead punky bum pump bum pop. But he got the cymbal thing pretty close, actually. Really, really good intuition. I don't know what they did as far as tracking or mixing this kick. It doesn't sound like anything on this kit is really mixed that much. It's just kissed enough to sound like things are separated and you get a good idea of what the drum tone is naturally. But man, that kick is aggressive. It's got some serious punch and it's got some hair coming off of it from some kind of saturation going on. Like, it feels good. If I had to guess, but I don't know, it's probably something they didn't post to get it to match a little closer to the kick tone of the original, because the original has a little stank on it. Now he's doing a slightly altered version of what he was doing in the verse. And I like that there's a little bit more hi-hat activity. I think that's actually a lot cooler. And again, goes back to his hip-hop roots, in my opinion. Like a dude who drummed for Soilwork and drums for Megadeth, I would not expect to have such strong hip-hop roots. But I think that's freaking awesome, especially since he's like, I don't want to say off the boat European, but he's very European. The rest of it's pretty much just playing the song. I want to skip ahead to one part in particular. So coming up here on the outro. So that drum part, that's something you would probably do in that session. The part coming up here is probably not something you would do in this session, but it's awesome. You're probably not gonna, you know, or that. Even though it actually works really well in the song, for this genre, I can't think of anyone who uses a double kick pedal. Of course, all the dudes in the studio are just like, bro, how did you drop a metal double kick part with a dotted 8th snare, dunk, 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 dunk? You know, how did you drop all that in to a Mr. Brightside track and make it feel natural and cool? I love it. They love it. It's like, yes. Everyone has big smiles on because they know it's the inappropriate thing and it felt so damn appropriate.
Ending, damn it.
Said he missed the ending.
I was like, I know those 3 hits are coming somewhere, and yeah, I got a little sidetracked in my thing. But yeah, anyway, yeah, that was fun.
That was great, man.
Yeah, I mean, hands down, this is at least what you expect from a high-performing studio musician. And I mean, if anything says he's a high-performing studio musician, coming in, not knowing anything about the song, listening through it once, and delivering that, which, I mean, by most people's standards, that would basically be finished. That destroys. And he did a fabulous one take, a really, really good one take. With the exception of one part, maybe, you wouldn't need to edit anything, timing-wise.
Worked.
Yeah.
One listen and one playthrough.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing, you know, that's like, it's like, I mean, I compare it to the instrument, like learning to pick up music quickly. If you can do that, if you can practice that, it can become a really useful tool if you want to be you know, do this as a job, because
it's the most useful tool. Sorry, I'll let him finish his sentence.
A lot of times, there's no time. Like when you do session work, sometimes when I have really complex stuff, because I get asked to do some really crazy, sometimes I have to do like detailed charts, you know.
Yeah, and that's where you actually need to do some real homework. And it depends. Sometimes they'll charge you more. Other times they'll just be like, man, it's just nice to work on something that's like not boring and lame. But yeah, the level of skill to just listen to something and instantly know it, very difficult. The well above average. I would probably have to be a 2-listen kind of guy because I'm not used to having to chart. But even beyond that, I don't feel remotely facile enough on my instrument to actually do something with becoming familiar with that song immediately. You know what I mean? Like that's a whole other skill in and of itself. It's pairing two very difficult, long to build skills and making them work in a really cool marriage. Huge props to Dirk on that.
And really work at it before. In general, what I've learned is that there's usually not as much time to prepare as you'd like to. So if you go into it with the mindset of like, I'm just gonna do the best I can do with the time I have, you know, it's usually a good place to start.
All right, so we're gonna have him listen to it really quick. So he's listening back to it. He's digging it. He's like, okay, I get it now. You know, the whole time he's listening to it. And I hope he's not judging himself too hard. I know I would be because I'm an asshole to myself, but man, I hope he's not, because like he still did something really cool. Really, really cool. And he wasn't in the writer's room. And he's just listened through it.
Yeah, man. Badass. I have to say, I can see why it's a classic. Hearing it like now, you know, like the whole thing. Yeah, it's a killer song. Killer song. Jeez.
I did the same thing. I get it, man.
You walked right into that one.
I did. No, I can totally see how that would like rule on stage and how people would just go crazy. And great drum part, like very well, very well balanced. And yeah, I know I hit the crash can at the same time as him at one point. I was like, yeah, I nailed one thing. But no, it was great drumming and very balanced and very tasteful and fills it.
Yeah, I fully agree with him there. The world's most complicated drum parts are not usually the world's greatest drum parts. And man, what a beautifully, excellently written drum part for that song, Mr. Brightside.
The right place and super cool. Yeah, I love it, man. Love it. It's this was fun. So yeah, that was my best shot here on Here's a Song for the First Time, courtesy of Drumeo. I hope I didn't let you guys down too much. I had fun doing this. And
no, not at all. It was really difficult not getting that initial hi-hat. It was really difficult to muscle through that. But yeah, I mean, no, you didn't let us down whatsoever, man. I mean, I don't know what I would have done if I had zero reference and was a drummer, especially a metal and hip-hop drummer, and tried to do a bright side. A bright English, punky, poppy kind of sound. I don't know what I would do. So I can't blame you at all for doing what you did. And it's not like it didn't fit. It just was so not what I'm used to hearing. It's jarring. It's very jarring. You did fucking awesome, man. Or they'll do it for me today. Support me on Subscribestar. Link to that's in the description. Become a YouTube member. That would also be mega helpful. And if you want mixing, shoot me an email. BecomeTheNight@gmail.com. Love you guys. Stay amazing.